Good morning, Papa Hank with Natural Grandma, and we're looking at a Featherman setup for processing. And we happen to have with Natural Grandma this morning the developer and designer and manufacturer of Featherman products, David Schaefer.
Hi, Jeff.
Good morning, David. It's been great reconnecting with you.
Good to see you again after 30 years.
30, 40 years, because Green Hills Farm Project Group with Dennis McDonald and Jim Garish, 1988. And the first time Joe Salton, I'm sure, ever come to Missouri, you brought him there. Have a rich history. Hey, good morning, Natural Grandma.
Good morning, Papa Hank.
You are in the presence of an innovator, an early adapter, and kind of a founder of a lot of the stuff we do today. You know, pastured chickens, the grazing.
Fortunate to get to meet you.
Yeah.
You know, we found a lot in common after 30 years. We haven't drifted that far apart.
Right.
It's fun.
Still, that passion doesn't end.
You know, we discovered a connection with the land.
Yeah.
About healing the land. And,
Right.
And it's a powerful, it's a ministry.
It is.
It is a ministry.
Foundation, and it just doesn't, it's in your blood that it'll never go away.
Yeah. And Laura had this in California. She was working with Assembly of God churches, but she always had this passion to teach people about health and to connect to the land
How
and
to feed themselves.
how to feed themselves, and God answered those prayers through old Papa Hank went 1,500 miles to get her out of Idaho and brought her back to Missouri, and she became my bride 11/11 of 2020, and that's when Natural Grandma started, and she's the one that brought my passion back, David. I'd kind of drifted away from, I was running trucks, and she
exactly
said,
what we need at the right
yeah,
time, don't we?
she said the only thing you're passionate about is moving those cows over the earth. And then, of course, COVID put the chickens back in our system, and so, but this interview is about you, David. So, tell them a little of the history of how you and Jim Garish and
All that early
Dennis,
time.
yeah,
Dennis McDonald. Yeah, there was just kind of a magical triangle there with the three of us.
right,
And then you and a bunch of other people were also ready for that message. But I don't remember how I found Dennis. Dennis was already playing around with dividing up his pastures. But I remember hearing Jim Garish speak at one of those typical little meetings that, as a wannabe conventional farmer where I started out, I went to all those meetings where they gave you free meal, and gave you a ball cap.
yep,
And Jim Garish was talking about moving cows every 6 days to
Right.
help the pastures. And I'd been to New Zealand because of Ron McBee, who we just discussed
Right.
a little bit earlier, and the
Yeah.
great and the
Remember
electric
Ron.
fencing, Gallagher fencing, and in New Zealand I caught on fire.
Mm-hmm.
I caught on fire. I said, this is the future of agriculture, because this is how land evolved. This is the creator's way of maximizing photosynthesis and energy capture on the land when the ruminant herds come through,
Right.
and predators make them bunch up, and they move to new, and replicating that on a man-controlled scale is easy, and the best thing we can do for the land. And so I came back from New Zealand full of that. I had an incredible trip there, met some Gallagher reps there, came back, saw Jim Garish give that talk, and I after the talk was over, I went up to him, I said, 6 days is too much, you got to move them every day.
yeah.
We still laugh about
You were
that.
right.
Huh?
You were right.
Well, he knew it that too. From his experiences in South America, he just was going as far as he thought he could stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people, when they moved them, when you tell them about moving cattle, they think you're going to get a pot and a load and shoot and a bunch of cowboys, and that's moving cattle, and it scares them.
Yeah. Well, Alan Nation used to say, people aren't in the cattle raising business; they're in the cattle hunting business. And when you do
Right.
this, they just come when you call, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
So Jim and I hit it off. Dennis was a co-conspirator from the very beginning, and I got some grant money, as I told you, from Exxon Oil overcharge funds. I modeled us after the Grinnell 2000, then it was 2000 project, and Center for Rural Affairs were influential. Kansas Rural Center was influential. Got some SARE grant money and kicked us off so we could afford some speakers. We brought in Joel we brought in Alan Savory, and a few years later, just some of the people that were earlier innovators than us.
Right.
And that was before I was involved in chickens.
Right.
Yeah. So those were good old days.
Chickens took you a long ways too.
I
though.
didn't want to raise chickens. Was a 4-letter word when we were cattlemen, wasn't it? Do you
Yes.
remember? They showed us graphs. The beef boys did of beef consumption in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
was like this, and they showed chicken consumption in the U.S. is like this, and this intersection point was like next year.
Right.
And they were really worried about chicken growth.
Right.
And of course, that's happened. And my personal evolution is I had these lambs I was raising after being in New Zealand. I had to get sheep, and I had these sheep that I was raising on pasture, and they were basically organic.
Right.
And I knew they were wonderful, and I tried to sell them. And instead of just go to the sale barn and take my licks, like everybody did, I couldn't sell them for beans. I went down to this farmer's market in Kansas City in 1993, and didn't sell very much at all. But they all wanted chicken. They all wanted chicken. And so we bit the bullet, started raising chickens, got Dennis to raise chickens. Dennis might have been raising chickens before me, now that I think of it, because he had a stall. He had a fiberglass stall.
Right.
But we out of the Green Hills Farm Project group, there were, I think, 6 of us. Chad Vadnais,
Yeah, I remember Chad.
Dennis, Parks, what was his name? There were,
Raised the elk.
who?
They had the elk.
Yes, Jerry Parks.
Jerry Parks, yeah.
Parks. And I'm sorry who I'm forgetting if they see
Yeah.
this, but there's I think 6 of us. And we
Well,
each,
Ben Coleman was in there pretty quick. And,
yeah, he wasn't there at that point yet.
Right.
Les Turner.
Yeah.
Les Turner, and then anyway, so I think it might have just been 5 of us. We got 1,000 chickens ordered, so we got 61 cents instead of 63 cents a chick, and we each took 200, and it was kind of like a competition, to tell you the truth. I mean, we didn't look at it that way, but of course we got them all at the same time. We divvied them up. We came back together with the cobbled together equipment that we did, and we all processed together. And that was a joke. I mean, we made so many mistakes, but it was interesting to see the difference in how birds were raised. Like Les was the best farmer of all of us. He was a big commercial, conventional farmer. He took such good care of those chickens. I mean, they were pristine. They were all like well over 5 pounds. The rest of us had 4 4.25 pound birds. But that was the beginning of chickens with the Green Hills Farm Project,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's where the old trailer come from.
Trailer.
Yeah.
One of those grants was primarily that money was to build that trailer, and we cobbled together. We bought a $750 giant 4-foot Pickwick plucker from Springfield, Missouri. Drove down to pick it up. Didn't work. We had to fix it. Les got some components out of the junkyard, Cecil Hobbs junkyard, and made the timer work. And I mean, it was fun. We cobbled it all
That doesn't
together.
quite compare to the equipment you sell today through
Well,
Featherman.
the great thing is it put the fire in me I understood what I needed,
Yeah.
and I understood what worked. I understood what non-matching equipment did for you. In other words, we had a scalder made out of a trash can with a plastic trash can with a heating element in it, 3,500 watt heating element in it. Trash can could hold 4 birds. Our plucker could hold 12. When you put 4 birds in that plucker, it was like kids on a merry-go-round, Laura. They didn't touch each other, and
Right.
they just rode. They need to do this to get picked. So, we learned a lot of lessons that way, and that was the beginning of my learning curve on what
Mm-hmm.
processing equipment needed to be, and stumbled along like that for a while. Hurt my back doing our chickens ourselves, lifting all those darn crates full of chickens by myself, and well, this is part of the story. I'll include it. I won't make this a real long story, but Les built this beautiful dunker, just from complete scratch, dunked into our trash can scalder, but it was built for 4 birds. And then after we could not get a good pick, and we knew our scald was getting right, we decided that this plucker really is made for more birds. Let's double it. So Les made this metal basket that held 8 birds, and it did fit inside the 55-gallon drum, plastic scalder. But our counterweight was not sufficient to make the birds go in and out. So guess what? I had to do the, deadlift of multiply 7-pound birds times 8. That's 56 pounds. 8 times.
Exhausting.
I threw my back out.
Yeah.
And still had chickens to do. We called Ernie Kaufman, 8 miles away in Jamesport. Can we butcher some chickens with your family? Yeah, come on down. I think they charge $1.25 per $1.50. And they took $0.25 off because Alice and I helped.
Yeah.
And
that's how we started with our chickens. Is our Amish friends did our processing, and
probably Ernie Kaufman and his family.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. Anyway, so that went on for a while, and then Dennis and I heard about, I think it was called Unionville or Putnam County Pheasant and Quail Company.
Mm-hmm.
You remember them? They
I kind of do.
Going out of business sale, and we went up there and we took Ernie Kaufman with us because he was interested, and we would nod over things. Of course, I tried to buy some of their old crates, junky stuff, and Ernie spent his time studying the big stainless steel plucker we had, which they wanted, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 for. I couldn't even think about it. And on the way home, Ernie, in his deliberate way, said, "I do believe I could do it."
Yeah.
He made what was the beginning of, most people know as the whiz bang plucker. He took a trash can, cut both ends off, put his, those mowers the Amish have with a big saw blade and driven by a lawnmower engine, cut stalks off out of the field. He took that, ran the belt in there, built a wood frame, 2x4 frame to hold his, trash barrel steady. Took fingers out of his drum roller and put them into I think the plate that he cut out of his, with a jigsaw, out of his plastic drum. Darn thing worked like a charm. Ernie had been using a drum roller. He was good at it. He could do it in 30 seconds. It took me about 2 minutes. So the Green Hills Farm Project, our first was you remember the drum roller.
Right.
None of us were good at it. It's not easy. But anyway, that was a gee whiz breakthrough. And Ernie is truly the great-grandfather of the whiz bang plucker. So I took a picture of it. I made a pencils exploded diagram of this thing so anybody could build it. It was simple. Sold the plans for $5. Put it in Farm Show magazine. That was 95.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sold probably, I say 300 sets of plans.
Yeah.
$5 each. Split the money with Ernie. And we made good money there.
That's right.
And at the end I said, somebody should develop this. 4 years later, that somebody was me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just stumbled into it overseas. Alice's folks lived in Bali, Indonesia. On our trip there, we noticed these little teeny pluckers. Just miniatures of the American-made pluckers, but they were 2 feet in diameter. And at a hardware store. And I priced it. Cheap. I priced $50. They went back in the room. Cheaper. Thought about that all the way home. And I'd actually seen the step before that I missed. On the way out, we stopped in Hong Kong, went to the farmer's market in Hong Kong. I'd actually seen, you heard this story? Good story. I actually saw the people in the Hong Kong farmer's market doing communal processing. They had this great big medieval kill room, bloody. They tied 5, and they were all layer hens. It's just the meat birds were spent layer hen. I don't think there was a broiler industry there.
Right.
So they tied 5 feet together with the twine, slit throats, and then they bring them in as a bundle and drop them in this missionary cooking pot.
Mm-hmm.
Great big like hog scalper pot. And the guy had 2 of them with wood fires and a paddle, like a boat paddle. He just scalded them with that. He knew what he was doing so well, it didn't need any of this expensive equipment. And then they put them on a little caster cart, and go through the farmer's market, and each stall would have one of these little pluckers there, plucking their own. And I thought, oh, wow, isn't that cool? Didn't think another thing about it till in Bali I saw that hardware store. To make a long story not quite so long, I imported a container, a small container, 55. That was 1999. And man, I was nervous as a cat. It cost me $7,000 and the shipping. And I didn't have that kind of money. That was a lot of money. And I had to work with my daddy-in-law. He was working through another Balinese guy, and it was a nightmare. And then we got into Los Angeles, and that was another nightmare, getting them out of customs. Finally, they arrived. I opened the door of the shipping container at the farm, and I just about dropped over. They were not the stainless-looking silver. I thought they were painted green. I thought, oh, I've been taken. Well, anyway, I assembled them, put motors in them, went to the, whose show was it up in Minneapolis? One of those organic shows. I'm almost done. And I was nervous as a cat again, and Joel was up there speaking, and he took a look at it, turned it upside down. He said, "This is going to change everything."
Yeah, it sounds just
And I
like
said,
Joel.
"Hallelujah."
Yeah.
And I sold 3 of them. Greg Gunthorpe got one of those originals, used the heck out of it. And that was that starting that. I sold out of those in a year, started making, that was kind of a long story.
Yeah.
I like
It's a
it.
cool story.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I just
this is the
stumbled
roots.
into it,
This
Jeff.
is the
I didn't-
roots of the homesteading
Didn't know
and
what
all
I was
that.
doing, and then somebody copied one of those and wrote that great book, Anybody Can Build a Whiz Bang Plucker. That was Herrick Kimball. I'm saying his name wrong. Maybe Kimball Herrick. I forget. But he wrote that book, and I called him up and said, "Hey, why don't you offer people a discount for call it a whiz bang discount if they don't want to build one, they can buy one from me." And so we kind of worked together for a little bit.
Yeah.
Herrick and Kimball, yeah. And anyway, that was a really popular book. I meet people every time I go to a show who have a whiz bang or used a whiz bang, and do-it-yourselfers like you and I.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the history of it, and then we just kind of get pulled along by the customers. We never thought we'd be USDA. We were always the little exemption, the small farm
Right.
1,000 bird exemption. That's as many as I cared to raise. Oh, we raised a few more in 1 year, but legally you're not supposed to go over 1,000, and then we went back to 1,000. And but now there's as many people going over into exemption land, almost as many as there are not, because they're braver than we are, and
Yeah.
a lot of those hurdles
Yeah.
can jump through.
Cool stories.
Is that more than you wanted to know?
No, this is good stuff, and there's a lot of other people that want to know this. And
I don't
what
think I've ever told that story.
what I'd like to do is we'll break this video off, and I'm going to shoot another one that you just show your equipment to me like you're going to sell it to me. We'll
Okay.
do another video on that, and we'll help people find you. That's what Natural Grandma is about, is helping people to connect, helping people to learn about different products, and whether you want a set of plans to build it yourself or whether you are not mechanical and you want the cat's meow, and that's where the aluminum chicken tractors come in. It's the cat's meow. It's everybody's dream, and you can I always say you can throw down 2 poles and give it a bunch of tin, and anybody can build a chicken tractor. But
Yep.
does it move easy enough to really do the job you should and go be excited about moving them? And that's where the aluminum comes in.
We've
But
all found a lot of ways.
we'll do a video about your equipment if you want to do that, and
Yeah.
help people connect with David Schaefer.
Yes.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Lauren.
And they can hear some of these stories direct. And you're going to be, your next show, you'll be at Roy Feeks.
Yeah, we'll be down in Tennessee at the Homestead Festival, June 2 and 3, Columbus,
Yeah.
Tennessee.
We'll be at the Okie Homesteading Expo. And
Yeah.
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 So we'll be in 2 different directions. I was down at Roy Feeks last year, but
Maybe we'll catch in the Ozarks too.
yeah. All right. Thank you, David. And Natural Grandma, you want to teach David what we always say?
Yes. We hope you're having this great a day.
Natural Grandma
Yep.
and David Schaefer.